What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. So, welcome back, everybody. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus. I've been able to put out a bunch of our interviews. Thank you to all of our guests who have recorded an Ask CISSP with me. I have several more coming in the near future, so definitely tune in for that. Thank you again for listening to us on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area, 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. So we greatly appreciate that in your podcast platform of choice. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from cyberpress.org, and it's written by Varshini. And the title of it is China's Dual Vulnerability Databases Expose Conflicting Disclosure Timelines. So what they're talking about is that China actually has their own vulnerability databases, and they have two main ones that they use that have different reporting timelines that they go by, which can be an issue, right? Like, so we've talked about this on the show before when it comes to disclosure timelines, when it comes to CVEs and things of that nature, and the different vulnerability databases that are used mostly here in the States, right? So the CNNVD and the CNVD for China is what is used, and which it has a lot of similar information to what we have here. But what you end up running into is that China, when it comes to disclosures, they are more worried about country security than global sharing when it comes to these types of things, right? So they kind of want to get their own house in order, right? To be like, hey, let's make sure we've kind of got all this covered before we make it discovered globally. And the fact that they have the different timelines, yes, it does suck, right? Like for them, but I don't care about them. I care about America, right? America, you know what I mean? But if you're going to do something like this, you want to be as close as possible to your disclosure timelines, right? Because they mentioned in the article here about one of them has a disclosure time of 13 days and the other one is 33 days. So it's not even like it's off by a couple days when they do it, right? Like it's off by a fair amount, which is something you don't really want. Like you want it to be as close as possible. And another thing about this is that even though we use different databases here in America, we do use global sources as well, right? It's not like we only depend on what is found in America or by companies in America to go about making the disclosures when it comes to vulnerabilities. But yeah, these guys out here in China, man, they out here, doing it at different different times for their databases, and it's just one of those things where we hope we don't get to that point in America where we have different sources that are so far off, but I don't think it will be because there is more of a sharing type situation here. And another reason for this is because the databases that they use in China, there's a lot of manual input into like Excel spreadsheets that they put into the system that they have. And that could lead to like, if you have bad parsing or something that you put into the system, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? If you have bad information in, it's bad information out. It could be inaccurate information that goes in there to where you're not looking at the correct things when it comes to these vulnerabilities, right? So you could be putting information out there saying, hey, look for this, but that may not be accurate for what is out there. But yeah, different disclosure timelines for this vulnerability database. And again, it can have far-reaching effects to us because we do use global sources as well here in America. So hopefully they get it together. I hate to say that about China, right? Hopefully they get it together to where our information can be accurate as well. But again, they are more concerned about country security than making information globally available. But Chris, what's your thoughts on this?
So I will say, for just like to play devil's advocate, I am sure that a lot of other countries out there, specifically US and Russia, we're probably hiding some vulnerabilities as well, right? It's just how it is. We're gonna play that game. It's probably just not China doing it, right? From the perspective of these vulnerability databases, these are what's publicly available to us, right, to the industries. As what the militaries and all those special organizations are doing, that's all a mystery, right? That's why they're advanced persistent threats. And it's kind of a spoiler for our next article, right? That's the level of detail and the level of patience they'll have, right? As an advanced country will have to make sure that you would never realize you're compromised. It's impressive and scary at the same time. But back to the CVEs, right? Just to piggyback off, there's manual entry a lot in these. While there's a lot of mirroring in these CVE publications from the CNNVD, there aren't. Well, that shows that there's not really like an automated pipeline or anything like that. It's kind of just put together by a team, right? Somewhere in China, and they're doing their best they can, right? That's fine. But there's also, like in the article, there's also a subset of vulnerabilities that were actually published before CVEs went public, right? So that's not really like common, but when it does happen, it beats that publication by about 3 months, right? But they're only for like, they tend to skew towards like lower severity ratings, right? So all, like the tiny severity scores, they'll have out before, the CVEs are published, right? So that happens. But there's also considering the fact that in the article is saying that the number of vulnerabilities with no CVE mapping is actually like dropping, but there is a delta. So I think ultimately what this article is trying to say, it's like, you mentioned this, like we take databases from all over the world. I think as security professionals, right, we need to expand our scope, right? Hey, CVEs or NVDs, fantastic, but we need to figure out a way to work in, hey, these are the international databases, and to see where that applies to us, right? And I think we should not only leverage Western vulnerability databases. Now there is the whole language barrier, but we got AI for that, right? There is that whole language barrier. But I do believe that I think ultimately this article is alluding to, hey, we need to be more globally aware of these databases because there might be some little, treasure troves in these little lower severity rating Chinese vulnerabilities that we may not even be aware of, right? So it's just something to consider. It's probably be more applicable for the people working at the CrowdStrikes, at the McAfee's, or whatever, the people that write signatures for databases or vulnerability databases and things like that. So it's a lot. It's something to be aware of, and I think having awareness that it's not just Western databases. We need to be aware of global databases. So those are kind of my takeaways from the article.
No, I agree. Originally, when I saw it, like just title alone, I was like, yeah, of course it's delayed or disclosed on a different timeline. I was like, we do that as well. We talked about it probably a year and a half ago, where we did it for Microsoft vulnerabilities. So it was a really big one. Again, cleared our house first before we pushed it to Microsoft and the rest of the world. Again, all the near peers do it, but they have access to our CVEs as well. So, like, what's taking so long for them to import those? Like this makes me worried of the future for the U.S. because we talked about how we're not able to keep up any longer because of AI vulnerabilities outpace our ability to log and properly document within the CV database, and how basically we're kind of not really walking away from it, but it's not a priority any longer. We kind of want to give it back to the public sector. If that's the case, this might be us in the future as well. So I would think being a near peer, they would be a little bit more quick to the draw, a little bit more accurate, and just able to copy and paste from our vulnerability database.
But the reason we're doing that is funding, right? So like it's a funding thing to where it's like the government doesn't want to keep funding these ventures, right? Where we do these things. And I don't necessarily know if that's the case in China. I don't know if it's a funding thing on why,
Right.
the public is doing this and doing these manual inputs. I still think it's their government that does this, but I don't know. I mean, the reason, yes, we could possibly end up going this way, but if we do, like who's going to check it? Like if you're not going to put money into it, who's going to verify what's being input by the public is
Right.
accurate, right? Because we have somebody that's doing that now for the most part.
Right. And not to jump back on that soapbox from our last conversation about it, but if you want to be tip of the spear when it comes to exploitation and things of that nature, you think you would put the money where your mouth is. Like you would pay for this to be a thing here in the US, as opposed to trying to give it back to the public sector. So that part also still doesn't make sense to me, because cybersecurity is national security, so we keep preaching that. So you would think that we would put whatever funding was necessary to to keep up, or use our advances in AI to augment people. It's just still doesn't make rational sense to me.
So I think we're diving into one of our articles, right? But the whole MITRE situation, because they manage the CVs, that's a gigantic contract. I think that's going to expire soon again because it was extended. I think we talked about that last
Right.
year. So again, that's probably be something that we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks here, right? There's another fiasco. Oh, MITRE is not going to get their funding. Oh, here we go again. Right?
It's like just give them just give it to them.
Just give
It's
them
a
money.
rounding error, right? Like,
Yeah.
as much money as we spend, like just give them the money they need to keep this up. Like it's it's something that we will in the future complain about, saying that, well, how come we can't keep up, or our near peers are eating our lunch, all because we just didn't fund the program to make it happen. I digress.
And you know what's most unsettling about that is I think that if we do go that route, and say we do get a little bit of a gap in there, and then we decide, okay, the way we were doing business before was the way we should do it. It seems to me that whenever we start picking up stuff like this, like we don't do the best job of just following what has worked before. We try to reinvent the wheel. Like someone
Right,
tries to come back and then do something different. It's like, guys and gals, it was working, right? Let's just do what we did before. Don't come and try to do something different. I'm not saying don't do something different as in there aren't advancements that can't be made, right? Because AI is out there and it's eating our lunch. You know what I
right,
mean? When it comes to vulnerabilities and things of that nature. Yes, you do have to adjust for that, but we had a way of doing that. Why can't we go back to that and just improve upon it? Don't try to do something different and then waste that time to eventually come back to where we were with what was working. That's my
right,
fear, is that that's what we're going to do. Because we do it all the time. We did it with the Space Force. I'm telling you that firsthand. Like, I'm just like, we did this in other branches well. Like, why are we reinventing
right,
this?
right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. In this case, if anyone from MITRE is listening, pitch it to China and see how quickly we pick it back up. In the U.S. Hey, China, do you want to fund the MITRE database, the CVE database? But I
Hey,
kid.
we might as well outsource it, right? Outsource the damn database to India, whoever else.
Right, like give it to somebody else, and the U.S. will quickly pick it up and pay you more for it. But uh, with that being said, Shane, I give it to you for the next topic.
all right, everybody. This next article comes from darkreading.com, written by Jai Vijayan. And the title of this one is Chinese Hackers Hijack Notepad++ Updates for 6 months, right? So, what they came to find out was that state-sponsored threat actors compromised the code editor Notepad++, so not just regular Notepad, right? That comes standard on your Windows operating system, but Notepad++ for 6 months. And it was from June to December, I want to say, of 2025 to where they found out that there was issues with it being hijacked. Now, what I want to point out here is that the application itself was not what was hijacked. It was the updates going to or trying to update the application going to a malicious server, right? So it wasn't that there was critical vulnerabilities in Notepad++. It was supply chain, right? Which has become very popular way of introducing vulnerabilities and redirecting people like since COVID, right? Because there was a lot of that supply chain attacking that was going on then, right? Because people were working from home. It became the lowest hanging fruit, so to speak, right? So, but yeah, and so they're saying in the article they say a likely China-sponsored threat actor hijacked the software update mechanism, but even in the article they can't agree on which APT it was, right? Like there's differences depending on who you talk to on which APT was the one that actually did it, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say it was likely China sponsored. It's China sponsored. You just don't know which one it was, right? So, which again, neither here nor there, right? But it leading to hijacked updates was a problem, right? Because the way that we do verification and doing things the right way, like you think you're getting a legitimate update, right? This is the thing with supply chain updates, right? Everything looks as it should look, right? And they fixed this, right? They since fixed this. They're doing double verification now to where certificates need to be issued on two different sides, I want to say is the way they're explaining it in the article, right? So it should not be the case now from version, I think it was like 8.9.2 or something like that. I forget which one going forward. It should be good now. But if anybody has older versions of Notepad++, make sure you're out there you go out there and get the newest ones, right? So, yeah, February 16th, Notepad++ developer and maintainer, and he's been maintaining it for 20 years, 20 plus years, right? Because I think it was like 2003 is when Notepad++ actually came out there. Don Ho announced the release of version 8.92.2 with a security feature designed to strengthen protections for the open source tools update system. So, yeah, two independent signature and certificate verifications, and it's a double lock design. So, people, if you're out there, and again, Notepad++ very popular when it comes to programming and development, right? Very popular tool out there. So make sure you're getting it updated to that newest version. You're not using an old version. Even after, so it's kind of weird, right? Because it's not weird, but in the article they say that there was a firmware and kernel updates in September of last year that kind of put the connection to where when they did that, that it was no longer something they could do. But because they had already had this updates out there or this mechanism out there that would send you to the malicious server, it was still active after that. So you still had from September to December of 2025 where this was still an issue, even though the servers for updating were already updated. So this is the world we live in, folks. You got to make sure you're doing things right. And even when you think you are, you still have things like this that can happen to where you're like, what more do I need to do, right? So you're not going to some shady dark website to try to get your updates. You're going to what you think is legitimate, and this can still happen. But Chris, what's your thoughts on
I mean, like I alluded to this in our previous discussion, right? But this is a very advanced attack, right? To manipulate an endpoint at the website level, right? So it's like whenever you're downloading from a website, right, and you know it's the proper website, it's correct. The certificates say it's everything there. You go to the little lock on on your URL and it says, oh, it's got SSH and or HTTPS and all that. But at sometimes, right, these advanced persistent threats, they just know they're one step ahead. It's one of those things where it's just very difficult to just keep up. And props to the developer to fix this, right? With like a double I'm imagining again double locking mechanism. Just throwing stuff out there might just be like it's two signatures. So it's very advanced, right, in terms of how this was accomplished. What's interesting though too is that they didn't really hit everybody with this. They apparently were selective with their IP ranges when they're target. They didn't just target like random users, right? For these updates, they'd make sure to target you know the
it? It was the
industries,
financial
the
sector.
financial sectors, the critical infrastructure.
Yep.
They wanted to make sure they're getting people's credentials that were, that could potentially gain them access to things that could control and disrupt our, regular lives, right?
What you have to think about with this is like the people that are using this, they are your system administrators and people that have elevated privileges. You know what
Correct.
I mean? So you're not messing with Joe Smo small level that's
So
doing this.
they are, I mean, like to me, like this is I think this is a genius attack. Like it's a genius attack to like the level of patience required to just, hey, just let's what do people not think about once you're at a trusted layer? That's where whole zero trust comes in, right, et cetera, right? Anything you click on, you shouldn't be trusting inherently. I think that's kind of the point of this whole article. But it's just to me, it just blows my mind how good this was, right? It's insane.
You hate to give them credit, but you got to give credit where credit
Yeah,
is due,
it's
right?
insane. So like, I mean, again, like this is a modern supply chain attack, like Shannon was saying, right? So they abused a trusted delivery path, and they like said, we're just gonna hang out here, right? They're gonna hang out in the alleyway, right, and just watch for anything interesting going on, right? And to me, it's supply chain is like it puts supply chain in a different perspective. It's not just what do I get from the warehouse. It's not just, oh, let's go to Office Depot and grab some notepads. That's not just supply chain. Supply chain is everything that you as a organization require to perform your daily operations, maintenance of your information systems, and from the cybersecurity perspective, update your information systems and make sure that they're running so you can perform those business operations. So that this is the very eye-opening, and glad to be discussing it. But Ryan, what are your thoughts?
So I don't have much to add to this one. I think you guys covered it pretty well. It really does come down to TPRM, right? Third party risk management and fourth party. In this case, though, it's a fuzzy area, right? Because to my understanding, Notepad is free. Even though Dan Ho is doing an amazing job of keeping it updated over the past 23 years, which is very commendable because I wouldn't if it's free. But why is this in your enterprise to begin with? So I can see like if you're smaller or if you're dependent upon contractors that have their own gear, right? But if you are a major enterprise, especially in the financial sector, how are you allowing your devs to use free software? It shouldn't even be on your approved vendor list.
I'm willing to. I think
Kind of
that's.
baffling.
I think it depends on that, right? I think like free like for example, Linux is free, but you have Red Hat, right? That has support for it, right? I think that's a little bit of a gray area, right? But it's like it's. I think I was reading on. I just Googled it really quick. 75% of office workers use Google Chrome, use Notepad.
That's crazy to me. Like, is that I have no experience with it, right? I've seen it a long time ago, but it's not something I used when I was on the Air Force Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing though, right? So like the companies are going to buy off on this being free. Like if their developers come to them and say, hey, there's this free product out there, it won't cost you anything to do, and the functionality for it is great. It is
Is great,
just like you're
right?
using some type of other development tool that we would probably have to pay depending on the size of the business, tens of thousands of dollars per year for support, right? For other ones. So like to the people in the IT department, they're like, yeah, free, good to go. You know what I mean? But I, and yes, I think so. This is where our background in the DoD comes in, right? Because we're out here using these tools as like, hey, we're not gonna put anything, we're not gonna put any freeware or shareware, on
Hmm.
these networks. We're gonna pay for the support, right? We're gonna find it in the budget. We're gonna make it happen. It's something we need. But out there in the civilian sector, no. They're like, yeah, you can do it. All right, let's make it happen.
But man, it's still I do get it, right? Everyone doesn't have military grade security, right? They're not out there, doing this as stigs and what have you. But the financial sector has high regulation scrutiny. Like, how are you allowing this within your environment? Just that part does baffle me, right? Like even if it's the greatest product ever, free means that you are the product, right? Like Dan Ho is not out here completely doing this out of the kind of sorry. He maybe, but not for 23 years. Like he's either
I think
getting
for 23 years he has been, and in my opinion, I'm
really.
going to be I'm going to be devil's advocate. People that have been working on a product for 23 years don't just do it because they're passionate about something. Right? He's passionate about code, and there are people out there that are passionate about being able to provide free resources that you don't have to pay for. Um, and that's where a lot of developers have that same mindset. Right? I'm going to work something that has a community driven behind it. Right? There's a lot of users, and we have an owner that cares and listens and does updates. Right? To me, that's a great part about software development. Yeah, there's probably some security issues, but it's that risk you have to take, right, as an organization. I agree with you. Financial sector, people with big money probably should be using something on an enterprise grade.
Your risk appetite is too high for me. All right, you're too high. And I get it. It's been a staple, like you said. It's been a foundational staple for
Yeah.
20 something years. So I give it some leeway. Now we saw. I can only imagine what type of intelligence they were able to gather, or code they're able to steal. Since you put that in the pad as well. So, that,
For that, they're all for that. The
But the
Chinese are
thing
all
is,
for.
I'll say this, like this was a supply chain attack, not an attack on the actual software itself, right? I think an APT can do this to anybody, to be honest with you, right? So if you're downloading from an official website, some APT is able to, will be able to, obfuscate that supply chain. I think it's possible. So I think, this is one of those things that you can't do anything about it, right? It's like trying to find a active shooter. It's just you can't. They're going to have the preemptive strike advantage. That's
right.
just how it is, right? I'm very sensitive about this topic because I believe in free software. I believe in open source code.
I was gonna say, Dan Ho, don't you?
No, but I'm just saying, like, not everything needs to come from, like, if you are learning computers, Linux, whatever, you don't want to pay for, like, most of those people don't have the money to pay for that stuff. It's just, you want to be able to use that freeware. I think it's good for society, and it's good for learning and the advancement of. But again, I agree with you on the, hey, open source software. There's a lot of open source software is used today everywhere, right? Even in big organizations. But securing those open source software usage, it comes with that risk, right? And you have to manage it appropriately, right?
I can almost guarantee Dan Ho's, whether it's through second and third order, he's making money off this, whether it be speaking engagements because he is, the person that came up with Notepad++ or something. Yes, he may like doing it, but there's no way he's doing it out of he has a job somewhere for the last 23 years, right? He's not off like the Unabomber sitting out here in a cabin in the woods somewhere, just like, oh, this is when I update, you know what I mean? So I don't know. There is some benefit of it to him, but even though he still likes it, there's no way he's doing it out of kindness.
Well, Dan Ho, if you like to come on the show and to talk about your brilliant product as well as the community, I'm all for it, right? So even though I do disagree with larger enterprises using such software, I can concede to a little bit of what Chris is saying, but I like that. It's a good discussion.
Yeah. I'm not, I'm not, I'm on the business side of the house now. I'm not DoD anymore, guys, right? I'm like, hey, you need to give people without DoD money the ability to do DoD work, right? Not just, to be able to prove commerce, right? If everything's restrictive, nobody's going to do anything, right? And
and if
you
we're
know what I do? You know what I like? I like being able to wear my Apple Watch wherever I go. Screw that skiff life.
Right.
Not about the skiff.
All right. Without further ado, before we pivot, so definitely continue to check us out on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area. We're at roughly 24,000 listeners each week, so I greatly appreciate that. Continue to download us on your podcast platform of choice. We're trying to work it out where the pipeline will also get video on Spotify and Apple Podcasts whenever that does pop back up. I just got to figure out what that order of events is to make it happen without duplication, right? I don't want 14 episodes of the show to publish. So we'll figure that out and continue to check out all the websites, ramcyber.io, if you're looking for cyber services. So I'm speaking for myself, right? It's three people in this podcast, but I'm the person who is doing those services. Definitely check that out. And then as well as RyanWilliamsSenior.com, check out my pet projects. But without further ado, I'll give it to you, Shannon, for the discussion.
So this article comes from cybersecuritynews.com, written by Guru Baran. And the title of this one is Cybersecurity Company Stocks Fall Sharply as Anthropic Releases Claude Security Tool, right? So the Claude AI, right? So Anthropic's latest Claude Opus 4.6 model, what it's actually able to do is, so you have your conventional like scanning tools that are used out there that are used everywhere, right? Like you got your different, your Trellitzes and your Nortons and all those guys out there. But what Anthropic has come up with was it's an AI that is going through code bases and it's doing what humans would do with going through and looking, and it's doing it faster, right? So like this is what AI does. Like it should be an augment to something that's already out there. But what ended up happening was that because they put this out there and said, yeah, so like this is not a human in the loop approach necessarily, right? So that's how they advertised it, but it is. There is a human in the loop portion to this because none of these changes will be made. None of the changes when it comes to scanning and finding the vulnerabilities or the code deficiencies, none of them could be implemented without human intervention for now, right? I will say for now. That's the way that they have it out there. So because of this, what ended up happening was there was a sell-off in the cybersecurity factor, like across the board. And let me try to find these stock plunges, right? The announcement triggered a sweeping sell-off across the cybersecurity sector. JFrog stock plunged nearly 25%, while CrowdStrike fell approximately 8%. Okta dropped over 9%, and Cloudflare lost around 8%. So as soon as this news came out, people were just like, okay, this will be the future, right? Automatically they went to that. This will be the future. This is the new best thing. You know what I mean? Like this is what we're gonna see from this. And Chris, I know you got some thoughts on this, man. Let me throw it over to you so you can get it out there on how you feel. I don't want you to bust waiting for this,
Oh my
man.
goodness. My first thought was like, I read through Code, right? It's essentially application security. It helps with static software, right? Static review, right? I think it's called SAST, right? Static application security testing, right? So static application security testing, the manual way would be like, oh, I'm gonna look through this code repository and see if there's vulnerability. And there's already programs like this that exist, right? On GitHub Copilot. This stuff already exists. Like GitLab does this. There's security built into a lot of that stuff already. But this just shows me that investors don't understand cybersecurity, period, like at all. Like CrowdStrike does endpoint detection and they do SIM. Where on earth do you as an investor, like static code is being, the AppSec CI/CD aspect might be disrupted? Well, let's sell off our stock on something that's completely different in security. Security is not just one aspect. It's not just code review. So cybersecurity is obviously, like we know this, is an entire business function. All right, I think Zscaler was on there. Zscaler is a SaaS provider, zero trust, and they're a cloud access security broker, right? They're like a perimeter defense layer, right? Cloudflare, they do. Cloudflare does like DDoS security and network security, and then like Okta too. Okta is an identity and access management provider. Like, what on earth are these investors thinking? Like, they don't understand cybersecurity. Just for the listeners out here, just like with this whole AI bubble, investors are illogical and emotional people, right? They'll see this and all of a sudden they panic. They're like, oh, but this shows you like the disconnect between, people that are in business and investments and people are in security. They do not understand cybersecurity. Like when you equate static application testing right? To identity and access management. To us, that's identity and access management is for the listeners, is how you log into something with your credentials and companies like Okta and SailPoint, right? All those other companies, they specialize in that, right? Where they build a database of authorized users. Generally, they'll give you like a MFA function with a token or tool or whatever. That's a totally different line of cybersecurity than CI/CD and AppSec, right? So while this augments that portion of cybersecurity, right, it doesn't necessarily replace everybody else. That makes zero sense to me. Cybersecurity is a huge industry with various vectors of moving parts to keep it going, right? It's not just, oh, AI is going to do your cybersecurity. And I'm probably going to pass it over to Ryan. Like, why would you trust AI with your cybersecurity in the first place?
So I look at this from a, a a unique perspective for myself. I usually don't really dabble in markets and things of that nature, like to a certain extent, but I'm very bare bones, right? Like, what does my employer provide? Let me try to do the same. What is it called? Like putting the money in, the like try to match, like things of that nature, right? I don't really think too deeply like Chris does, because I the market is fear and greed, right? I think though that this shows that there is a huge exposure to the cybersecurity, big cyber, right, to the entire field when it comes to business, because like Chris so eloquently put it, they don't understand it, right? Like when you go to like a Webbush or some other security firm, you have people who understand specific products, right? So that way they can talk to their investors, explain to them what's happening, and then they can invest appropriately, right? Responsibly. I don't believe such a thing exists for the cybersecurity sector. And hey, you should give a Chris or someone else like that, because I think there's a lot of money to be made in there to protect them. Like to for JFrog to fall off 25% for something that has nothing to do with them, that shows right there that there is an ignorance in the investor field, specifically for the cybersecurity industry. So you need someone out there, or someone's out there, who can better explain this to their investors, so that way hedge funds aren't dumping stock and things of that nature, uh, based on something that has nothing to do with them. Like Chris said, like these two things are not apples to apples. Like if anything, like this is again a great augmentation tool. That way you don't have a situation where like CrowdStrike takes down the internet, right? Because someone, a human in the loop, wouldn't have the ability to make such a change without first the augmentation tool being, in this case, Claude, seeing the error and then pushing it to that person to say, hey, something's not right here, or hey, something's missing here, or hey, something can be done about this. It's an augmentation tool. Or for it to scan, let's say a new vulnerability pops up, there's a CVE or whatever like that, can go through the code base and say, okay, I can look for these things within your enterprise, and then quickly tell a human being and add a SOC or a knock or whatever, hey, there's something wrong here. You should hit said button, or you should not deploy said package, or whatever. But again, it's not apples to apples. So I think if you had someone who could explain that to people in a better way, to say, hey, these things do not tie into each other, right? Like Okta does this, JFrog does that. You would avoid sell-offs like this in the future. So if you want to, hit up Chris Abacon, please go through rampcyber.io for bookings. All right, I'm his manager now.
That's hilarious.
No, so like I hear you, right? Like I definitely understand that, but like you said, right? It's fear and greed when it comes to stock, right? Like they don't have to have an understanding. Here's what they understood. Something that is AI related came out with a new capability. That's what they understood, and they were like, "Hey, AI is all the rage right now. Let me go ahead and jump on this." Right? This is what happened just now, to where you're both correct in that they don't understand what's going on, but they're not in it to understand what's going on. They're in it to make money, right? What can make us the most money?
And you know what? I'm just starting to think about this. Perhaps, yeah, I think it's an illogical sell off, but I'm thinking now, the same people are the reason why these stock prices are so high, right? So AI and SaaS, right? Looking at, like, there was a SaaS sell off like a few weeks ago, right? I think this was just another excuse for them to sell off their, holdings in these cybersecurity
Uh, so
organizations. So it
right.
might be that.
So you say it's AI washing, like they're doing
It's
with,
AI, like
yeah,
it's, how people are like, oh, we're laying off people because of AI BS. They're
right.
moving people to India, right? It's kind of the same thing. Like, oh, they use AI to sell as an excuse to finally sell off their probably overvalued, stocks. Maybe that's it, right? But again, I think that it is an overreaction. But again, the entire stock market's almost an overreaction to whatever Sam Altman or Jensen Huang say, and something goes up 10%, right? So it could be that. But again, I think I'll stick to this. Investors in general don't understand cybersecurity unless they're, and you're not going to find a person that's a cybersecurity investor strictly for cybersecurity, because that investors are more than just one industry. They want to make sure that they have full coverage, right?
Their understanding of things is an inch deep, mile wide, right? Like they're not
Exactly.
specific for one thing.
Right. Like when ChatGPT first came out, right? It took a while for the industry to figure out, oh, this stuff runs on GPUs. Nvidia shot up, right? Like a year later. The really smart investor would have been like, well, let's buy Nvidia in 2022. You'd be a millionaire today, right? Again, I didn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, or work for Nvidia and be vested. Like
Be
all those
vested. Yeah.
people just walked away. They're just
Like, yeah,
I'm now a multimillionaire, and they just walked away.
yeah, they've been working there as, developer two, right? Middle of the road, still making really good money, but all of a sudden their stocks are insane. They're like, I'm going to go to Peru. I'm going to go to Costa Rica. I'll see you later.
Definitely, the market is crazy. Like again, I do what I have to do in order to hedge my bets for future Ryan.
Chris is not a financial advisor or investor. Again, I'm not saying I am, right? That's all I'm saying. Go to somebody that's paid to do this.
It's wild that you have to put that disclaimer out there,
yeah,
though, right?
Like you'd be like, oh, Chris told me to buy cybersecurity. No, I didn't. I didn't tell you to buy anything. This is not financial advice. So,
yeah, but if you are CNBC or Fox Business or one of those other entities, please contact ramcyber.io to book Chris to come on your show for future engagements.
Absolutely.
Because I think that'd be a great conversation to actually have with somebody who's in the industry, as opposed to, Mr. Wonderful usually shows up to those things and talks about it. And he's a very smart guy and he's very, business savvy. He's not a cybersecurity expert, to my knowledge. So why would you have him on the show to talk about it, as opposed to somebody who's an actual consultant within the field?
I got to be honest with you, man. Like everybody on Shark Tank outside of Mark Cuban, I don't know how business savvy they really are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, and I don't pay enough attention to him. And maybe because I'm into sports, I know Mark Cuban is a legit billionaire and he works in IT. Like, he works with technologies, right? Like, he's done stuff, but he's also out there in healthcare and things of that nature where he's doing stuff. Pharmaceuticals, really. And it's pharmaceutical.
Big pharma. Well, no, actually, he's going after big pharma, right? He's trying to reduce.
Yeah, like he's the one that has the pharmacy company, right? Where he's getting it cheaper to the people and whatnot. But Cuban's the only one I know is a legit like billionaire that is what he seems. Like everybody else, like you look into him a little bit, you're like, they don't seem to have the money that they say they do. Like when the show comes on,
I give it to the HSN and QVC ladies. I can't remember their names, but they're pretty
Lori,
good at
Lori and yeah.
I don't know what their net worth is or what have you, but I watched the Diary of a CEO, and it had the one lady. I can't remember her name. I think it's Lori. It's the older lady who's
Barbara.
on there.
Barbara.
Yeah. It had Barbara, and it was just talking about how she came up through the industry. It was very, very interesting. I was like, okay, she's definitely a boss lady.
She's really.
But you have to understand, right? If you're on Shark Tank, these people are sharks. They know, they've been doing this investing game for a long time, and I think for the most part they understand what makes money. Like based on, because they've been around the block, right? Like I think she's in her 70s. Right, they've been around the block. So
she's very like, so that's the only one I've seen outside. Because I know a little bit about FUBU. I used to rock the brand. I know a little bit about it, but like she's the only one outside of Mark Cuban who I've heard a long interview with, and yeah, she's the real deal. I would not want to work for her though. Like very much a shark. So she said she used to fire people on Fridays. It was like her favorite day of the week, and not out of malice, but it's not working out. She was like, you should be quick to fire, as opposed to being prolonging this out, and this person's cost you money, and you're also giving them a false sense of security. They need to go somewhere else. And she was explaining it to her, but on how you have those quotes on the quote, I was like, oh, but then as she explained it, I was like, okay, that makes more sense.
I also like Kevin O'Leary, just because he's a little bit more on the marketing end, but he's a good taste in watches, so I like that about him. He's got good taste in watches. So I'm a big watch guy. So it's like, oh, he's on like Hodinkee, or not Hodinkee, who's Teddy Baldassar, right? I watch his YouTube videos. It's really good. Anyway, not
I've seen
not to
someone.
plug luxury
Right.
watches, but I love
Yeah,
that stuff.
I've seen someone. I'm not a watch guy. I wear Apple Watch, right? I've just never
Yeah,
been. I've never been into jewelry. I tried, right? Like because I'm an '80s kid, so I had
yeah.
the chain or whatever. But I was like, this is
Man, I
dumb.
remember the first time I saw a field grade wear a Rolex. I'm like, is that a Rolex? He's wearing a Rolex in his camis. I was like, that's sick.
But yeah, I've never been into watches. But I saw one the other day. It was like $30,000 for like the base model or whatever for the watch. I'm just like, it's just a
That's
watch.
sick. You know?
But I get it. Like they go up in value and you can trade them and sell them.
Yeah,
It's a
man.
whole industry, but not
It's
for me.
cool. So I think what it is for guys, at least, it's like the one form of socially acceptable jewelry that we can have, right? So of course, men obsess over stuff. So they're like, "Oh, let's look at the data, the proper values of this," right? It's just how we are.
Yeah, I can see that. And then I saw not to keep belaboring this, but I saw there was a special force guy on a different podcast, and he was saying like basically like Rolexes are universally accepted, and people know what they are. So when you're out in the field and something goes awry, you need cash quick. It's the first thing you could trade to the local populace to get whatever you need. He's like you could
Give me
in
a
some countries.
motorcycle right now.
In some countries you could give them your watch and they give you their car because it's so valuable. So I don't know. It's a crazy world out there. But without further ado, I'd like to go into our what have you been doing
Great
this
segue
week?
into that, right?
Yeah. But first I'd like to commend Shannon for all these names you've pronounced for these articles. You're on top of your game, sir.
Could have been wrong, Ryan. They could have been
But you
wrong.
said them
It's
confidently.
confidence. Yeah.
You said it confidently. That's all that matters. So Shannon, how was your past couple of weeks?
I've been better. Like I sustained an injury in the gym, so it had me out for a little bit. Doing recovery from that, so it's coming along. Yeah, I will say this, even though I got hurt in the gym, I didn't cry. I tell everybody that I didn't cry. We'll see how this physical therapy goes. That might be where I cry, right? When they start having me push it a
That's when they
little
bring
bit.
people down.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens then. No, it was I've been kind of pulling back on work a little bit, right? So like my schedule's been a little altered because of that. Been out for a little bit. But my wife is taking good care of me, y'all. Like I don't know. She's working her way into like a Louis bag or a new car or something. I don't know. I don't
She
know
missed her
what's going on here,
opportunity.
but she
She should have did the scene from Misery. She had you.
put the
She had
block,
you dead to
the
rights. There's nothing
block
you
in
could do.
between my legs. Look, if you hobble me like that, there's no making money at all. Like we all go down. You know what I mean? But, no. Again, she's taking really good care of me, like more so than usual. Like she's trying to do stuff. I'm like, all right, let me try to figure it out for myself. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, she's I love that woman. I'm in love with that woman. She takes good care of me. But when it comes to media watching, you would figure I'd be more into the media, but like it's been a lot more like sleeping, taking pain meds and things of that nature. So I'll turn something on and then fall asleep on it if it's not instantly interesting to me, right? So I know the second season of Cross came on Amazon, so we started to watch that. And it's weird because I started to watch the second season. I thought, you know, I had I watched it with my wife for the first season, but apparently I hadn't. So she watched the first couple episodes of the second season and she was like, "What season is this?" And I was like, "It's season 2." So she's gone back on her own and watched season 1, like to catch up on it. So
Gotcha.
every once in a while, I'll hobble into a room and see that she's watching it, and I'm like, "Well, how far are you?" She's like, "Oh, I'm on episode 6, 7, 8, whatever." So it's eventually gonna get to the point where she's caught up to where I am, and then we'll continue forward. Like I've stopped watching season 2, right? Because
Right.
like she's taking the effort to go through, and it's like the first season, like it started out with a bang. I thought it ended a little bit with a whimper, and then came up, a little bit at the end. But the second season seems to be starting out pretty good. So we'll see where it goes. But I've been watching Cross. What else? What else have we been watching? Abbott Elementary. Still watching that. I think it's only a matter of time before. I don't know if it's that they don't have the gusto anymore, but they're 5 seasons in, right? It's one of those that's kind of a sweet spot for these sitcoms, right? It's like you see a lot of them that are 5 to 7 seasons,
Right.
and then it's like, yeah, they're kind of done. So we'll see how much longer that goes, but I could see it being where they might wind it down, maybe do one more season and then be done with it. Because you're starting to see the people in that like what ends up happening is when you have something popular like that, all of a sudden they're in demand, so it'll be harder to get their schedules together, right? Like even though that
Right.
is kind of their big thing, like they're like, I know during this time frame I have to film the show, but when you start getting these movie offers or like you're a sponsor for something, they might be like, oh, that's gonna be hard to turn down. You know what I mean? Now I gotta make commercials in Japan for their new milk drink. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whatever it may be, right? So I won't even be in the States to film. So like I said, it's only a matter of time with that. What else? Have we been watching? I find myself watching old stuff again, man. Like I wanna get on Lincoln Lawyer. I noticed Lincoln Lawyer's new season dropped, so I want to get on that because that's a good series. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that series on Netflix. It's pretty good if you haven't, but the cliffhanger they left with the at the end of the third season, I think it was kind of like, okay, all right, we're gonna see how he gets out of this. Mickey, you got some problems, man. You know what I'm saying? So I want to get on that one. It's in my queue. What else did I watch? I've been trying to catch up with comedy stuff. There's been some comedy specials I've been watching more. I don't know if any of y'all pay attention to more. She got a new
Haven't
one
checked that
out
one out
there.
yet.
Yeah, she got a new one out there. It's okay. It's okay. If you watch some of her old ones, I think she's really underrated. Like even though she has specials and whatnot, like not a lot of people know about her, but I think the stuff she does, it's more relatable to me, maybe, right? So like I kind of it makes me laugh a little bit more than what people may think or how funny she is. But I watched that one. It was okay. It was decent. Like I said, it's only because I was expecting something a little different from her. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that wasn't bad. I find myself online a lot, like looking at different like videos and stuff like that. So like, oh, The Pit. I've been watching The Pit too.
I was going
The
to
Pit
ask you
is
if you're caught
another
up
one.
on the pit.
Yeah, I'm
You
caught
caught
up
up?
on The Pit. Yeah, we're caught up on
Okay.
The Pit. I may. So here's the thing. We're to the point where I may have been wrong where I thought this was going because we ain't got there yet, right? Like I'm like we're getting later and later in the
Yeah,
season.
that's fine because you surmised the entire season after 1 hour.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, he is on it.
So I may be wrong on that, but yeah, I'm caught up on that. So the wife and I are caught up on that because we definitely watched that one. She keeps asking me, she's like, "Is there a new episode of The Pit?" I was like, "No, no, no, it doesn't air till Thursday." I was like, "We can't watch it until like Thursday, right, on Max." But that's kind of been it for me. Relaxing, trying to recover, physical therapy. So, what about you, Chris? What's been up with you, man?
Cool, man. So I'm glad you're getting better, and really hope your recovery efforts are going to be 110%. Right, you're going to be just fine. I have no doubt about it. Right, I think we were like before actually we started recording. We were talking about working out, right? So what I've been doing is getting back into running more regularly, right? I was getting a little bit too. It's not as extreme as Shannon's injury, but my shoulder's getting a little bit too tight because I started lifting a little bit too heavy, right? So we're at least I'm late 30s now, so it's like at the age where if you're lifting too heavy, you don't slow it down, you don't taper up to it appropriately, you're just gonna hurt yourself. Right. So I'm not a physical therapist, right? I'm not going to try to give advice again, but take it easy. I think that's good advice. I think if you feel some pain, stop. But I've been getting back into running, right? So I think I want to run like a half marathon this year, maybe a 15K, right? By the end of the year. That should give me plenty of races. Like generally in Florida, you want to run races in wintertime, right? Because if it's too hot, too humid, it's going to suck. You'd rather have it be 50 degrees because you're going to warm up pretty quick after a few miles, right? And you still got like 10 to go. So it's definitely nice to run into wintertime around here. So I've been doing that from a physical perspective. For games, I've been playing World of Warcraft. Surprise, surprise. Not very casually still. Deciding the new expansion comes out later this week. So it's pretty exciting. I don't know what I want to main yet. So like in Diablo, right, you've got different classes, right? I like tank. I like to do that. So I'm still deciding what I want to play. Probably going to play Monk, right? If you guys play WoW, you guys know what Monk is. Can do all 3 roles, DPS, tank, healing. It's cool. I'll probably do that. That's probably my main. Maybe Paladin. I don't know. Everybody plays Paladin. Same in Diablo. So that's that for games. And then for TV, anime. We've been watching a lot of anime. We've been recently making it through. We have Crunchyroll, right? So we watch that a lot. So we are team subtitles, so we do that, right? I've had arguments with some people like, oh no, I listen to dub only. I'm like,
Yeah, sub to dub. You got to fight.
nah, man. I like the subtitles. It's authentic. It just like it seems right? Like you go from like Japanese and then like you go to like here's an example like in Solo Leveling, right? The main character Jinwoo's voice, it's so low in the dub version. I'm like, this guy doesn't even sound Korean,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, bro, this guy sounds like Batman now. Like, I don't want to listen to this. I mean, good voice actor, right? Fantastic, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like it
So
doesn't,
let me
you
ask
know.
you something though. So like when it comes to anime, like so the sub versus dub, right? You're like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'd rather do the sub. Do you find yourself missing action? Like I'm a fast reader, right? Like I can go through and I can read stuff pretty fast. But because I'm looking away from the action. Like, do you find yourself missing stuff that you're like, oh, that was badass? You know what I mean? Like,
Not at
not really.
all, because
Okay.
generally during like fight sequences, there's like, in anime they always have internal monologues. Generally, they'll be like during aspects where they just got hit. They're like, "Nani?" Right? They're like, "What?" And I think I'm just used to it, I guess. So from the action perspective, I don't think so. I think you miss more on the dialogue heavy portions where they're just standing still, right? If for some reason your mind lapses and you're not be able to, but I read fast. I can like see the sentence. I'm like, oh, that's good, right? Maybe it's one. Maybe it's that's the allure to me. It's like, oh, it keeps me young. It keeps me reading things and it keeps me focusing on something. There's just that. So it's not just as mindless as just watching a dub. I'm not saying watching dub is mindless or anything, but I do like that about anime. And for me, it's like the authenticity factor of it. I do enjoy it. And Japanese is a cool language. If anybody has aspiration to go to Japan, right? You want to at least be familiar with stuff in Japanese. So I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, but we've been watching Spy X Family, which is it's a really fun spy show. Like it's definitely different from what I'm used to, but it's really funny. Yeah, and then we finished Solo Leveling, finished Dawn of the Dawn, right? So we've been working through that and trying to see. I knew the new season of Freyren is out, but I'm waiting. I can't like maybe I should just I want to binge it, right? It's too good. So I've been avoiding Reddit and all that stuff for spoilers because that's what people do. But yeah, anime has been my thing and will continue to be my thing for a while, probably until the summertime. So that's it.
Yeah, I've been on a anime kick as well, but I've been going back to 80s and 90s, back to that old anime. Well, I don't know, something about the animation. It's like nostalgic for me. Like when I first started watching anime, right? Like when
Oh
you
my
could only
gosh.
get it on Toonami or the Sci-Fi
Toonami,
Channel,
that's
or you had to go to
hand drawn.
Blockbuster.
Yeah. The thing about those animes, man, is that they're like all the scenes in those movies, especially, they're all hand drawn, colored, beautiful animation, right? Everything, like even like Solo Leveling, like which is a great like anime. There's a lot of computer animated elements to it, right? Which is totally fine. I understand, but the level of detail that those worlds, like those old Miyazaki movies,
Yeah,
just
like
like
a Princess Mononoke
Princess
or
Mononoke,
yeah.
Nausicaa, right? Howl's Moving Castle, just those anime, man, like just the level of detail is just unbelievable.
Yeah, so I've been going back, but pretty busy when it comes to the podcast. So I've had a interview every week for the past since the kickoff of the new year, and it's going to go into May is now where I'm booked out. So it's amazing. I really am enjoying it. The last one was with Wilson Bautista Jr. So he's the CEO of June Cyber. He is a classically trained pianist who served in the Marines, both enlisted and as an officer. And now he is an entrepreneur who started June Cyber. He has the Ohana Project as his nonprofit, and he does St. Pete B-sides. So he's a very busy man. So I got a chance to talk to him. It was a great conversation. The next one coming up is with returning guest Matthew Hale. So he's from We Gonna Learn Today is his platform. So he is a retired Marine and he is a IT architect, right? But he uses all his knowledge to build his platform, right? It's all coded by him. It's all interactive. It's Black history to the 1 billionth degree, right? As well as now he has Black author page as well, which I featured on. So I'm very proud to be one of his first contemporary authors on the page. But if you want to learn anything and all things about Black history, go to We Gonna Learn Today .com. It's amazing. So he's the next one coming up, and I have so many more in the near future. So I'm truly blessed. I have an upcoming engagement, so I'll be at the Minorities in Cyber, the Mike annual convention conference, I should say. That'll be in March. So look for me in doing that. I just got an invite to Tampa Bay B-sides. I'm going to try to secure that as well, and I'm going to talk to a class at the Blacks in Cyber. So I'm going to do that virtually. I've been doing a lot of extracurriculars. Super proud of it. I'm very excited to continue that momentum into 2026, 2027. So been doing a lot of that. At home, me and my wife have been watching The Traders, a show on Peacock. It's very hard to explain. It's basically all these. It's a reality TV show where they put all these celebrities in a castle, and there's two traitors amongst the entire group. It's like 20 something of them, and the traitors are having to take them out through the course of the days. Like the different activities they do, the different games they do can potentially keep you safe, but ultimately you have to figure out who the traitors are and you have to banish them. So there's every episode there's someone who gets banished because the whole room gets together on this table and they all speculate on who is the traitor, which is hilarious because we know who the audience knows who the traitors are, but obviously they don't. So they kept banishing people who are faithfuls, is what it's called. So it's very much an emotional game. And you have people from Survivor, Big Brother, other celebrity shows. Mama Kelsey was on there, right? Donna Kelsey, she was on the Traders. Ron, I forget his last name, like Futch or something like that. Comedian, he was on there. It's great. We're on the
The
last
one that, the one
episode.
that did the one that did the Xbox thing, Ron
Yeah, the one I
Funches.
sent you. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Rod Futches. Yeah, yeah. He was on there. Hilarious, dude. And oh man, what's my man's name? Michael. Oh, I can't remember his name. Starts with a P, I think.
What's he on?
He's in a bunch of movies, like he's in Spike Lee movies, stuff like that.
Not
What's
Michael
his
Ealy,
name?
the light skinned guy.
No,
Michael
it's
Ealy,
a older white actor. You see him all over the place. But
Italian guy.
yeah, yep. I forget his name though. But he was on there, a hilarious show. So been catching up on that. So that's my reality TV. I usually don't watch reality TV, but this one's been keeping my interest because it's so funny and it's meant to be funny. And then yeah, like I said, old school anime. Game. I've been playing Stellar Blade. So it was on mega discount. Very anime inspired. So it's a very fun game. I've been playing it, scratching that itch of where you find the mission, right? You find the person, they tell you what they're in need of, and then you go find whatever they're in need of, and you bring it back. So it's a lot of those type of oriented mission structure while I'm trying to, of course, save the world because that's what you do in an anime inspired video game, right? I'm an android, human android type figure running around trying to save the world. So definitely enjoying it. Great soundtrack. Aside from that, man, just really trying to keep up with all the show stuff.
Did you ever play Zone of the Enders on PS2?
I did not.
That's one of the
I
best
missed.
games of all time, and I'm like, I've
That's a Hideo Kojima joint, and I missed out.
exactly. And that is like that game specific. It's like from 2000s. It's in the 2000s, but man, that game, I was obsessed with that game when I was in like middle school and high school. I love that game, and
I
it's like
missed it. Yeah,
it's just that anime inspired, right? Just like Mac. I just love that, and I have yet to play a game that scratches that itch like
right.
the same way that kind of like what's that game with the big bosses?
Like Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus. There's
How did
nothing
I
else.
pull that out?
Yeah, exactly, right? But like it's those two. Like I think PS2 is the greatest console of all time, in my opinion. Period.
Yeah,
Like
it's high up there.
it's
Yeah,
the number one console of all time. Just because like it's like Unk status for us.
right, right. PS2. When did that come out? Before you were
PS2,
born.
like it is literally when you were born. That's when it came out, young man.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do a remaster or a remake of it so I can play it. Because like what'll happen is like now
Man,
I'm finding gaps in my game catalog, right? And I want to go back to play it, but it's just the quality of life changes would be like amazing if they would do that for me to go back and then play it. So if they redo Zone of Enders, I'm all over it. But I don't think I can go back because I tried going back to one of my favorites was MGS2, and if I'm not playing, or I'm sorry, MGS, so Metal Gear Solid,
yeah.
the on the PS1. If I couldn't go back until they retouched it, because I tried going back and it was just the controls were killing me. I just couldn't wrap my mind around the controls any longer
Yeah, right.
because
I
it's been
got
so
you,
long. Yeah,
man. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid, that series is amazing. Yeah. Anyway, again, we're the old guys.
right, right.
Ryan, Michael Rappaport is the guy
There
you're
it is.
thinking
Michael
about.
Rappaport.
Yeah.
Yes, and
So I,
it's so funny because he says his whole name every time. He's like, well, Michael Rappaport, and everybody else now says that Michael Rappaport. It's hilarious, and he was so loud. Like they not to give anything away, but he makes
he always is, right? When I think of him, I always think of Remy from Higher Learning.
yeah, but
He's had so much more than that, though. You're right. He is in some Spike Lee joints too.
he's on a lot of joints. But yeah, he's on the show. So think of a show that has Donna Kelsey, Michael Rappaport, Ron Futches, and then like the Real House of whatever city, Survivor, right? Because one of my favorite Survivor characters is on there as well. Just all the figure skaters. They have two Olympic medalist figure skaters on there. So all these various different type of people, all speculating that the other person's a killer. It's hilarious. I'm just like, where's the show been my entire life? So I've been enjoying that. But yeah, just again trying to keep the momentum going for all things Ram Cyber, doing the podcast, trying to make sure it continues to grow. I'm kind of hoping for a new market. Like I want to kind of grow it because I'm starting to see a lot of traction in Atlanta. I'm getting a lot of good connections on LinkedIn. So I'm like, okay, what does it look like if we go into Colorado or if we go into New York, some of these slightly larger markets as well? Keep doing what we're doing, but just more exposure. So I'm thinking about pushing for it, but I have to see what the next Nielsen numbers look like because I don't want to overextend us. Lose that specialness. So we turn to Joe Rogan, right? We have like Dave Chappelle comes on on the other side of the firewall for no reason. But yeah, so just really loving it. So continue to check us out on all your podcast platforms of choice, as well as WDJY 99.1 FM, the Atlanta metro area. And last thing, last night I went and saw the Fantasia concert with um, Anthony Hamilton. It was great. Like I don't really do concerts, but I really liked it. It was at the former Amalie Arena, now Benchmark International Arena or whatever is the new name. Great. So I highly recommend if the tour hits your area, definitely go check it out. Great music, especially if you were of a certain age, right? So she's been American Idol was 22 years ago. So you like if you're like me, it was in more of your formative years, and now you're old. So
Even Anthony Hamilton, man, it's been a while since Charlene was released. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah,
and
it's been a
that's
while.
what he ended on. He ended on Charlene, but that
Yeah.
came out like 2003. We are the olds, but it was a good time. But yeah, check us out on all your podcast platforms of choice, as well as hit up ramcyber.io or hit me up personally, RyanWilliamsSenior.com. And where can they find you, Chris?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Abacon, last name spelled A. Bacon.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.